Thank you, John. Listen, I'm thrilled to be here. I love to come to centers of excellence. This high school is a center of excellence. It is a school that I was so pleased to hear that 98% of the senior class will be going on to higher education. That is I would say that's what's called dashing false expectations is the best way to put it. See, I would suspect that prior to coming to a place that demanded high standards and high excellence, people say, well, these certain kids can't learn. See, there's an attitude in our society that maybe certain children can't learn, so therefore let's have a system that just shuffles them through. But not at this school. This school believes in the worth and value of every child, that every child can learn. And therefore the school is not afraid to raise expectations and set glorious heights and demand excellence. And as a result, you've achieved a startling achievement. 98% of the high school seniors will go on to higher education. I want to congratulate you, and congratulate Jim, congratulate the teachers, congratulate the parents. But most importantly, congratulate the students. I appreciate you setting goals and making the right choices to achieve those goals. This is a fabulous high school. It's a great place to come and talk about the expectations of our society. It's a great place to come and talk about how we can encourage people to achieve new heights. It's a good place to come and talk about how you challenge the status quo when the status quo is promoting mediocrity. So thank you for letting me come. I appreciate so very much the Secretary of Education being here. He's going to say some words in a minute. You know, when I was looking for a Secretary of Education, I wasn't interested in finding a theorist. You know, somebody who talked about the philosophy of education. I was talking about somebody, trying to find somebody who actually done it. And he was the superintendent of schools in Harris County, which is Houston, Texas. He understands the philosophy behind the law that we just passed a year ago. A law I'm going to talk a little bit about. He's doing a great job. He's a good, sound man, and I've known him for a long time. I'm proud that he's serving us. Thank you for coming, Rod. I'm glad you're here. I noticed Tom Davis and Rodney Frelinghausen, who are with us today, members of the United States Congress, who pushed for the initiative I'm going to describe. They're educational entrepreneurs. This is good legislation. I'm really proud of the work you two gentlemen have done on behalf of citizens and parents of of Washington, D.C. It's really good legislation, and I want to thank you for your efforts. The Lieutenant Governor from Maryland, Michael Steele's with us. He's a graduate of this fine high school. I appreciate you coming, Michael. I appreciate His Excellency Kevin Farrell for coming, and please give Cardinal McCarrick my very best. There's no finer person in our country than Cardinal McCarrick, and I'm proud to call him friend. He's a decent man. The bishop said that he was in Kosovo and spreading love and American goodwill. No better person to do so than Cardinal McCarrick, by the way. Patty Weitzel O'Neill is the superintendent. Thank you, Patty, for your hospitality. Elfreda Massey is the interim superintendent of the D.C. Public Schools. Elfreda, thank you for being here. I want to assure you that the message you're going to hear today is one that says that all systems can achieve excellence. I believe that. I think it's very important for us to work not only in D.C. but around the country for a public school system that promotes excellence for every single child. And I want to thank you for your leadership and your willingness to take on a tough assignment. I appreciate you coming. I want to thank the chairman of the board of the school. You know, one of the toughest jobs in America is to be on the school board. You get all the complaints and none of the glory. But thank you and the board members for being here. Again, want to thank the students so very much. We passed a interesting piece of legislation a couple of years ago called the No Child Left Behind Act. I love the sound of that because that's what I believe society must strive for. No child should be left behind. It kind of says some children may be being left behind, doesn't it? If the admonition is no child left behind, maybe some are. And I think they have been. And one of the reasons I think they have been is because I don't think we've set the bar high enough. This society of ours must challenge what I've called the soft bigotry of low expectations. That means that when you lower the bar, when you don't believe in the human potential of a person, you're likely to get lousy results. So I think we need to raise the bar everywhere, just like you've done here at Archbishop High, to challenge every child. Then I think you got to measure. See, I don't know how you know whether or not you're achieving excellence if you're not willing to measure. You know, I hear people say around the country, I don't like tests. Well, I didn't like them either. You know? But that's just the way it is. If you're going to try to figure out whether a child can learn to read and write and add and subtract early in life, you better measure. You better find out early before it's too late. A society that doesn't want to leave any child behind is a society which says, show me whether or not the curriculum is working. Show me whether or not the school is doing what it's supposed to be doing. I suspect Archbishop High is good because it not only sets the bar, but you're willing to measure. And when you find a child that needs help, you provide that child help. That ought to be the paradigm, to use a fancy word, for every school district in America. We need to raise the bar. And so what we said here in Washington, D.C. is we're willing to spend more money, particularly on Title I students. But for the first time, the federal government is asking the question, can you show us whether or not we're achieving objectives? See, we're tired of children being just shuffled through. It's time now to determine whether or not we're meeting the goal of, for example, every child reading at grade level by the 3rd grade. That's not too much to ask, is it, for a society? To be able to read at grade level by 3rd grade. So we set the goal. Now it's up to the school district to show us whether or not we're meeting the goal. And if not, there's extra money available to make sure that no child is left behind. But at some point in time, in order to challenge mediocrity where we find mediocrity, parents have to be given other options. And so the No Child Left Behind Act has got an interesting way of providing that for parents. We say we measure, we post the scores, we look at results, and if the results don't measure up, a parent has got the ability to take extra money for tutorial work at a private institution or a public institution, or a parent can send a child to another public school. It's the beginnings of what's called school choice. But I didn't feel like, and Congress didn't feel like, and I know a lot of parents here in Washington didn't feel like that was enough. So we worked on a new initiative. It's an initiative that says, here in Washington, we want all aspects of schools to work. So there's money available for the public school system. And I want to thank the mayor, by the way, for his involvement in this project. And he said, as you're talking about school choice, make sure you don't forget the other schools as well. See? And so we got money available to make sure public education can do the best it can possibly do. There's money available for the charter school movement, which provides parents interesting options. But there's also a new approach here in Washington that I want to talk about today. It's an approach that says there are school systems that are capable of meeting expectations. And when a parent has a child trapped in a school that won't teach and won't change, we've got to liberate that family. We've got to give them options so that Congress wisely, and I might say with administration nudging or insistence, said, why don't we provide a $7,500 scholarship for parents whose children go to, low-income parents whose children go to schools that aren't working, so that that scholarship can follow the child to a place like Archbishop Carroll High School. And there's $14 million, some of it for administrative purposes, but 90% of it's going to go to the families. This is an historic moment for education. It's the first time ever where the federal government has recognized that school choice is a viable alternative for parents. It's an opportunity for us to say to a mother or a dad, here's your chance to achieve your expectation for your child. You see, a society that is responsible is one in which a mother and dad, love their children with all their heart and all their soul. And a parent who does that wants the very best for their children. And so this initiative is one that's the beginning of what I hope is change all across the country. It's the beginning of a go-by for other school districts and other communities that says, look, we want our public schools to succeed. We want them to do well, but we're going to raise the bar and raise expectations. And when we find children trapped in schools that will not change, parents must be given another viable option. And so here in D.C., for the first time, hopefully starting this fall, parents will be given an option. When parents are dissatisfied, they will now have a chance to take scholarship money to send their child to a school of their choice. We've got some people here who understand what I'm talking about. We've got some grandmothers and moms and school choice agitators. Well, I don't know. That's a little harsh, isn't it?
No, that's not.
Okay. Advocates.
Okay.
Advocates. Before we begin, I might ask the leader here about expectations. When a child comes to this school, tell me how you achieve 98% graduates going to college. That sounds...
Well, I think we have an easy formula for that. When they walk in the building, we don't ask them if they're going to college. We ask them to, first of all, focus on the fact that they are going to college, and we talk about when, not if.
There you go.
The curriculum is designed for them to be prepared for college. It's a challenging curriculum, as a matter of fact. Honors, AP courses are available. We believe in teaching and preparing the entire person. So the faith formation is a very important part of the education here. The community, the values that our young people learn, gospel values we concentrate on in that educational experience as well. It's very easy to do. You set the bar high, as you just said. As a matter of fact, that's a phrase that I use myself often when walking through the halls. And we know from early research on education that if we have high expectations for young people, that they in fact will rise to the occasion.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate the attitude. He's challenged the soft bigotry of low expectations by setting the bar high. I mentioned AP. One of the things we need to do in America is to spread AP programs. It's called advanced placement programs. Those are high quality, high expectation, high achievement programs. Too often, though, in our communities, a parent will take a look and say, I'm not so sure I want to pay for the AP exam. My budget can't afford it. I think government ought to help people pay for the AP exam. Low-income people ought not to fear their child taking an advanced placement exam because they can't afford the fee. That doesn't make any sense. Plus, I think we need to have money available to help teachers teach the advanced placement program. So it's one thing to aspire to advanced placement, but if you don't have a teacher who knows how to teach advanced placement, it's not going to become a reality. But I appreciate the AP program. AP programs work. AP program is part of a challenging curriculum.
It is.
And once you pass the AP, there's very little you can't accomplish, by the way. It means that you've excelled. And I know you got a lot of AP students here.
We do. But faculty are really important in that regard as well. We are fortunate to have dedicated faculty who sacrifice a lot, and they give long hours to ensure that students are getting what they need. And they go beyond the call of duty, frankly, on a daily basis to ensure that they're providing support. Even to today, we have students who are at Harvard, as a matter of fact. Our debate team is at Harvard.
I don't know what's so good about that, but that's
well, I understand that you spent some time there as well.
Well, I thought you were going to say Yale, but that's all right. No, that's good. They're at Harvard, yeah.
It is.
Yes, I went there, okay. Much to the shock of some of the press corps.
But I think giving our young people opportunities to get out of the building and get to universities in this community, but outside of this community as well, really helps to reinforce that. Yeah. It also helps to have alums such as Michael Steele, I'm glad he's with us today, to hold up, as an example of what happens when you work hard.
Michael, good. Listen, Rod, why don't you share some thoughts? Rod, I told you took on a tough assignment. And I will tell you, the children in Houston, Texas benefited from his leadership, and he's a good, solid citizen.
But this is a good assignment. Mr. President, you've asked this nation to create schools in this nation that are worthy of a great nation. We are a great nation, but great nations are sure that all of their children have an adequate opportunity to get a good education. And you provided the leadership, the vision. And the Congress provided the bipartisan work to establish the framework that underpins pursuit of that vision. And it's called the No Child Left Behind Act. It has changed the conversation in our nation. People now talking about excellence. Here, there's some squabbling around the edges, but I can tell you, because we stay in touch with all the states and all the schools, and we know that there are a lot of people all over our nation that are doing good work in pursuit of this goal, that we can create in this nation schools that provide a quality education for all the children. And this program, DC Choice, is just another step in that direction. Because what it says is we want parents to have options. We want them to be partners. We want them to have choices. We want them to have information. We want them to play an important role. We know from the research and also practical experience that that works. And there are two solid reasons for having a good, strong choice program. The first one is just simple social justice and extending civil rights. It is just fair for parents to have options, even though they don't have means like others. They too have goals for their children, and they should have the same opportunity to find wonderful places for that child to get a wonderful education. It extends civil rights and social justice. It makes no sense at all to chain a student to a school that's not serving them well. The second reason, it's good for public schools. Public schools, when they have the opportunity to be involved in choice programs, respond and meet that competition. And you know what? In many cases, they can even beat the competition, because when public schools are at their best, they're really good. Teachers are trained, you have the facilities, stable tax base, all the advantages you need. Public schools don't need to go around whining about surviving. You should be talking about prevailing. And that's what's going to happen when we get this innovation unleashed that's bottled up in the monopoly that we got now in many places. It's going to be good for everybody. So, Mr. President, we are going to create in this nation schools that are worthy of a great nation. We're going to create schools that leave no children behind.
Appreciate you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Local control of schools is important because innovation oftentimes takes place in spite of government. Archbishop Carroll obviously has been able to survive, without government telling him what to do, and you're doing what's right. But the other thing about local control of schools is the more power there is at the local level, the more parents have an opportunity to change things. And so one of the key components of the No Child Left Behind Act is that it's up to you to chart the path to excellence. We just want to know, see? That's all we're asking. The federal government's finally saying, show us whether or not you're achieving the objectives. But you figure it out. And it's amazing what happens when parents decide to get involved. A lot of parents think everything's fine with their school until the test scores show up, until there's comparison, until they take a look at across boundaries, say in D.C. I bet there's a lot of folks wondering why my school doesn't have a 98% college attendance with the seniors. So information's important, but empowering parents is important. Virginia Walden Ford is with us today. She is a great citizen in that she's willing to seize the moment to try to affect change. She's a tireless worker on behalf of children and parents. She's somebody who's made a difference. I want to welcome you here, Virginia. Tell us about your family. Tell us about what you're doing. Tell us about how you've got involved with the Parents for Choice. She's the executive director, by the way, for Parents for Choice in D.C. movements.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's really interesting because I've really come full circle. My son started at Archbishop Carroll on a private scholarship. So just, you know, when we were asked to come and talk about it today, I had to think back about all the things that happened to me several years ago in '97 when I saw that the school that my son was attending was not meeting his needs, and I knew I needed to find a way to get him pointed in the right direction. And I was very lucky because a neighbor offered to provide us a private scholarship to attend Archbishop Carroll, and I told Mr. Butler and others today that this school saved his life. He's now serving in the United States Marine Corps. In a month he'll be leaving to go to Iraq to serve his country, and he's very excited and ready to serve this president, and we're really excited for him. But this was his start, and so I think it's just really interesting that we're here today. But that beginning gave me an opportunity to have a really good, happy ending for my family. We didn't know what was going to happen to William, but being able to be in an environment that served his needs was just an incredible feeling. And at some point I realized that I needed to make sure that other parents, other mothers, had that same kind of feeling. I was hearing too many disturbing stories about children not doing well in school, and you know, I had the unique opportunity to found an organization that would at least be able to get the word out and hear what parents had to say, and we did so in 1998. We began DC Parents for School Choice, which has been a clearinghouse organization to help parents kind of navigate the system and find out what their needs are and to look at options that are available. We've served parents that looked at private school, public with private scholarships, and we've worked with parents that chose charter schools. But this last year, hearing with No Child Left Behind being in place and having a president that was so supportive of children and children's needs, and having Congress so verbal in talking about making sure that children in Washington, D.C. were served, we decided to fight with you know. And we said, you know, if Congress and the president are going to care about what happens to our kids, we're going to be right there beside them. So we organized parents, and we talked about what we needed for our children, and we talked about, you know, how to get it done, and we helped in every way that we could. And, you know, I get calls at midnight saying, have some parents come up on the hill so we can talk to them and hear what they have to say. And I'm going, it's midnight. You know, I can't call parents, but we called them. Because we wanted the world, we wanted everybody to know that the parents in D.C., even if they don't have the resources, want the absolute best for their children. You know, and that's, I mean, that's all I did. I called parents, and I told parents in the District of Columbia, we can speak for ourselves. We can tell people what we need for our children. We got to help Congressman Davis and Congressman Boehner and Congressman Freelandhausen and Senator Gregg and Senator Frist and the President. And that's what I really want to help, really bad. We're going to help these wonderful people tell our story. This is our story. These are our children. And that's all I did. You know, we empowered parents. And it's been an incredible thing for me. Because in 1998, I don't know if I ever believed this day would come. And the day that it passed in the Senate, I cried all day. And I called my mother in Arkansas, and I told her, I said, Mama, I know you've been mad at me for several months, but it passed. So, thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Virginia. Yeah. One person can make a difference. Now Virginia's got to make sure that the parents who want to learn how the program works can find a resource. I know you will. There's this, for example, this might stimulate a few phone calls. I suspect there's going to be some mothers and dads wanting to contact you to find out how the program works. How do you apply for the $7,500 scholarship? What does it take to be eligible, and how we get the scholarship money out? We'll help. I know you got an advertising campaign getting ready to go.
We do. We have a bus campaign that begins on Monday. This past week, we spent time sending out forms of just asking parents to call for information, thousands of them. So we're in the field. See, we are activists, and I'm not embarrassed about being called.
I said agitators. I'm changing.
Okay, I'm not embarrassed. Well, I was.
That's not a bad word.
Look, Congressman Davis, I think I was a little bit of an agitator too. But when you believe in something, you fight for it, and you raise your voice, and you get on. And I know we got on Congress's nerves. I know we did, but that was okay because we got it done.
I do too, occasionally myself,
So we are in the field. We never stopped. I tell the parents that, yes, this has passed. Yes, it is law, but our fight has not stopped. I mean, the implementation of it is where we'll go out and have a party. You all invited.
Good job. Thank you. Catherine Hill is with us today. Catherine is raising a niece, a nephew, and 2 grandsons. She is a... Yeah. Thank you for being here, Catherine. Would you mind sharing with us some of your thoughts?
Yes. My oldest grandson, he went through 3 public schools, and he wasn't getting any help. And I had to use my son's address in Maryland to get him a decent education. It wasn't an easy job because we had to get up 5:30 in the morning and make sure he get his breakfast, and we had to drive him each and every day, then go back and pick him up. My other grandson was blessed with a scholarship from Washington Scholarship Fund, which he's at Nativity. But right now I have a niece and a nephew, which are twins, Eric and Erica, and they're in public schools. And I know if no help comes for these children, we're going to lose the battle. And I'm just so grateful at the fact that this bill has passed. Because if you have a pie and you don't taste it, take a slice of it out of it and taste it, you don't know what it's like. So I'm encouraging all parents, work, fight for your children, grandparents, great-grandparents, because this job was not an easy job, but we fought, and we all can continue to fight. And I want to thank the President so much for passing this bill, so a lot of our children today will be able to get a decent education, go to college, and come out and be a, providing person in, today's society, and be able to go into a job, not a meaningful job, not to have to clean and sweep and stuff. So this bill is one of the most blessing bills that was passed, and I want to say again, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Listen, so Catherine made a decision early on that one of your nephews, was it nephew or grandson, went to school in Maryland. So that's what we call school choice. And in other words, she said, I'm not satisfied. I've got high expectations for my loved one. And evidently the expectations weren't being met. So you made a decision. Now, what we need to do is make sure the decision is closer to home.
Thank you.
She's a resident in Washington, D.C. She lives here. It's important that decisions be made more readily available for parents. And I want to say something that Rod said. It's very important. See, as you make those decisions, somebody might get the message and say, wait, we're not doing something right. We must earn Catherine's support by raising expectations. Somebody ought to be asking the question, why is Catherine making a unbelievably tough call to drive hours to another state, or out of this district to a state? And hopefully that causes somebody to say, maybe we're not doing something right. Maybe we ought to work harder to win the confidence of Catherine Hill, or the Catherine Hills of the world. That's what Rod was talking about. You see, when a parent makes the decision, votes to move a child, hopefully that will cause the response to be, we got to do something better or something different. The customer is Catherine Hill and her children. And so I want to thank you for your story. More importantly, I want to thank you for setting such an unbelievable example. Imagine Catherine raising niece, nephew, and 2 grandsons. That in itself is an overpowering job. And yet at the same time you keep that clear vision about what is best. And I will appreciate your example of
And I also want to say that he graduated in June of 2003. So that's a blessing.
That is it. That's good. Elizabeth Stallings is with us. I oftentimes tell people the toughest job in America is being a single mom. That's the hardest work in our country. And it's important for our school systems to make that job easier, not harder. And I appreciate you coming, Elizabeth. Thank you for being here. We look forward to hearing your story.
Thank you, Mr. President. Greetings to everyone. My name is Elizabeth Stallings. My story begins that my son was once placed in a public school in Ward 8 in the District of Columbia. I chose to take my son out of that school because, number one, it was not a safe school, and you cannot learn in an unsafe environment. I made a choice to put my son in a different school. That different school now is located in Ward 1. It is a public charter school, and it is an excellent public charter school. I was one of the lucky ones to get my son in that school. Although I went to the school board and decided to put him in 2 other public schools, I wasn't given that choice, although there is something in the District of Columbia, quote unquote, called out of boundary, the enrollment out of boundary program. I was not actually able to place my son in an out of boundary school because I didn't live in that area. Thank God for the Washington Scholarship Fund. Thank God for DC Parents of School Choice, which I am now an advocate and a part of, to fight on behalf of other parents. I would like to thank the President and the Mayor of this city for fighting with us and backing us, actually, and being on our side, and that someone is finally listening to parents after all these years, over 40-some years, and maybe even longer. I can just count up to there because I'm in my 40s. But anyway. That has been my experience. My son is soaring now that he is in this particular public charter school. He is in the 1st grade. He is one of the best readers in his classroom. Thanks to Elsie Whitlow Stokes Freedom Community Public Charter School, if y'all are out there. But anyway, I would like to thank y'all for listening to me. I would like to thank y'all for listening to me. I am very proud of my son, and I would like to say that this is going to happen in the District of Columbia, and that we are determined to fight on behalf of parents that are not here, on behalf of parents that will soon join us, because this is out here now and they're aware of it, and that we're going to do this thing. DC is going to have the best schools, whether they're public, charter, or private, and I'm proud to be a part of this.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Very good. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Mr. President.
Yeah, that was a strong testimony. Thank you both. Listen, John, thanks for having us. I've got to say something about the Catholic schools in America. The Catholic school system provides an incredibly important service in our country. They serve as a model. They also take on a lot of students that are the so-called hard to educate. but always do a good job. They're willing to help with the financially disadvantaged parent. Catholic schools are an incredibly important part of the fabric of our country. And I want to thank the educators who are here. I want to thank you for the service you provide. I know you share with me a deep desire that all schools do well. All school systems achieve the national objective, which is excellence for every child, regardless of their background. There's no doubt in my mind we can achieve it. In order to achieve it, you got to have the right mindset, and you must be willing to challenge the status quo when it's failing. The society must be willing to never accept mediocrity when it comes to the education of our children. You know, the president's got a pretty big microphone. I've got a chance to spotlight success. And by coming here today, I am spotlighting success. This success that we want to be a success all over the District of Columbia. We want people to be able to compete with you, John.
I look forward to that.
Yes, sir. I know you do, because you love children from the bottom of your heart. So do I. Thank you all for coming. I want to wish the seniors all the very best. I want to congratulate you. Yeah. Would the seniors stand up, please? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for letting us come. Thank you for letting me come. Remember, your senior year isn't over till you graduate. Good luck in college. Good luck whatever you decide to do. May God bless you. May God bless this high school, and may God continue to bless our great country.